Hello, and welcome to Learn English with Mary and Sam. I'm Mary.
And I'm Sam. Today's episode is all about using modal verbs for advice, permission, and obligation. 3 situations that come up all the time in English.
Modal verbs are those special helping verbs like should, must, can, and may. They help us express what's necessary, what's possible, and what's a good idea. But sometimes it's hard to know which one to use, especially when you want to sound polite or strong.
Don't worry, we'll explain the rules, share lots of examples, and help you use modal verbs confidently in your daily conversations.
Modal verbs are auxiliary verbs that add meaning to the main verb. They don't change form for different subjects, and they're always followed by the base form of the main verb.
The most common modal verbs for advice, permission, and obligation are should or ought to, must or have to, can or could or may.
Let's start with advice. When you want to suggest what's a good idea, use should or ought to. You should see a doctor. You ought to try the new restaurant.
Should and ought to are almost the same, but should is more common in everyday speech.
For stronger advice, especially when there's a warning, use had better. You'd better take an umbrella. It looks like rain. You'd better not be late for the meeting.
Had better is used when there could be a negative result if the advice isn't followed.
When you want to ask if something is allowed, use can, could, or may. Can is informal and common in speech. Can I use your phone? Could is more polite, especially with strangers. Could I open the window? May is formal and often used in writing or very polite requests. May I come in?
To give permission, use the same verbs. Yes, you can go now. You may leave early today. Of course, you could borrow my book.
In modern English, can is the most common for both asking and giving permission in conversation.
When something is necessary or required, use must, have to, or need to. Must is strong and often used for rules or personal feelings. You must wear a seatbelt. I must remember to call my mom. Have to is used for external rules or facts. I have to finish my homework by tomorrow. You have to show your ID to enter. Need to is similar to have to, but can be less strong. You need to drink more water.
In everyday speech, have to is often more common than must for obligations.
To say something is not necessary, use don't have to or don't need to. You don't have to come if you're busy. You don't need to bring anything.
To say something is not allowed, use must not, mustn't, or cannot. You mustn't smoke here. You can't park here.
Be careful. You don't have to go. It's not necessary, but you can if you want. You mustn't go. It's not allowed. Don't do it.
Let's look at some examples to see the differences. You should see a dentist. You must see a dentist. You have to see a dentist. Can I use your pen? Could I use your pen? May I use your pen? You must wear a uniform at work. You have to wear a uniform at work. You don't have to wear a uniform at work.
Let's do some short dialogues to show how these modal verbs work in real life.
I have a headache.
You should drink some water and rest. If it doesn't get better, you ought to see a doctor. Excuse me, may I sit here?
Of course, you can sit next to me. Do I have to finish this report by today?
Yes, you must. The deadline is 5 p.m. Do I have to bring my own lunch?
No, you don't have to. Lunch is provided. Can we smoke in here?
No, you mustn't smoke inside the building.
Here are some mistakes learners often make. Using must to or have to with to before the verb. Incorrect. You must to finish your homework. Correct. You must finish your homework. Incorrect. You have to finish your homework. Using mustn't for things that are not necessary instead of things that are forbidden. Incorrect. You mustn't come if you're busy. This means don't come. Correct. You don't have to come if you're busy. Using can for obligation. Incorrect. You can finish the report by Friday. This means it's possible, not necessary. Correct. You have to finish the report by Friday.
In English-speaking cultures, using the right modal verb can make your language sound more polite or more direct. For example, could and may are more polite than can when asking for permission, especially with strangers or in formal situations.
For advice, should is friendly and helpful, while must can sound like a strong order. Be careful not to sound too bossy unless it's really necessary.
Try answering these questions using modal verbs. What should you do if you feel sick? Can you drive in your country at age 16? Must you wear a uniform at your school or job? What do you have to do every morning? What shouldn't people do on a bus? Could you lend me your favorite book?
Practice these with a friend or write your own sentences using modal verbs for advice, permission, and obligation.
For extra practice, write 5 sentences about your daily life using modal verbs. For example, I have to get up early on weekdays. I should eat more vegetables. I can speak 2 languages. I must finish my project by Friday. I don't have to work on Sundays.
Let's recap. Use should or ought to or had better for advice. Use can or could or may for permission and polite requests. Use must or have to or need to for obligation and necessity. Use mustn't or can't for prohibition, and don't have to or don't need to for no obligation. Remember the differences in strength and politeness.
Thank you for joining us on Learn English with Mary and Sam. We hope you feel more confident using modal verbs for advice, permission, and obligation.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our channel and like the video. Your support helps us reach more learners around the world.
Share your own sentences or questions about modal verbs in the comments. What's the most confusing modal verb for you?
Stay tuned for our next episode where we'll explore more practical English for real-life situations.
Until next time, keep practicing, keep learning, and use your modal verbs with confidence.